In your swordsmanship training, there are going to be times when you need to pass a sword back and forth from one individual to another individual. And this is a very dangerous time of inspecting the sword and passing the sword. I will be working with Masayuki Shimabukuro Hanshi, the chairman of the Jikishinkai International, and who also happens to be Black Belt Magazine's 2006 Weapons Instructor of the Year. And we'll be passing the sword back and forth and then explaining how to examine the sword to make sure that there are no flaws in the blade or in the koshirai, the furniture of the sword itself. We hold the sword in the left hand, and properly holding the sword, the thumb is always over the tsuba, keeping it from coming in and out of the saya. So it's very important that the thumb is always over the tsuba. The sageo is looped in the left hand. The sword comes forward. At this point, the tsuka is up, the handle is up, and we bring the right hand to the very bottom of the sword and lift so that the tsuka, or the handle, is to our left, and the blade is actually facing me. I hold it head high and present the sword with both hands. He receives it in the exact same way, only with the sword facing to his right. To return the sword is done in the opposite. He lifts the sword to the front, turns the handle toward his left, and presents it with the blade facing himself. Thank you. And then we return the sword to our left side with the thumb on top of the tsuba. There will be times when you're going to pass the sword to a partner for his inspection. The sword will already be out of the saya, so you're going to pass a naked blade from one individual to another, which is more dangerous and more difficult than it is with the saya covering it. In this case, we have a firm grip on the sword, top and bottom, blade facing myself, who would be the owner of the sword. I would pass the sword with the blade facing me with two hands. He receives it with one hand with a very firm grip, so I know that he has the blade. I release my hands. He returns the blade to himself. He examines the blade to look for cracks starting at the bottom next to the tsuba, and his eyes go on the omote side of the blade to the kisaki, turning the sword over, looking from the kisaki back down toward the tsuba, looking for any cracks or flaws in the blade itself. Returning the sword is done in the opposite way. He turns the blade facing himself, two hands. I grip the sword with a right hand grip and release, and return the sword to the saya.